Good evening. Let's get this going. So, I'm coming in a bit early. Let me share this link with some of the people on my platform. Um, Getting my devices together. Make sure I share this. Ah, all right. A little rusty with the a little rusty with the devices. It's been a long day, people. I'm a little tired. Forgive me. All right. I think I got that done. There we go. Awesome. All right. I see people coming in. Come on in. Come on. The water's just fine. All right. We are going to begin now. Right. So, thank you for joining me. It has been a minute. Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you're watching from. Thank you. It has been too long since my last live. And let me just say that was not by design. What that was life interrupted. So if you're new to the channel, welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Simone, and I've had an adventure of a career as what I like to describe as a non conventional financial services regulator. I've been doing that for over 21 years. I've also been a lecturer at our community college here in the BVI. Um, and then later on, I've been a facilitator for ICA classes, so the diploma level classes in compliance, AML, and others, as well as it was ICSA, it's now the Chartered Governance Institute, some of their courses as it relates to governance. I've done mutual evaluations, I've contributed to international standards, I've done quite a few things, and it's one of the areas where I think I can really contribute to compliance professionals because I've seen a lot. And the channel started as one of the avenues to help compliance professionals. And I've been doing this for over 10 years. So I've formalized it here and beyond this channel. But more on that later. So I'm seeing people joining, giving people time to get in. Yeah, the numbers are going up. And somebody just messaged me. All right, I can't message back. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, all right, tonight, well, before I get in, share it with your friends because I started a little bit early. Tag them, put it on Facebook. If you think they'd be interested in this, just put it out there and let's get into it. Now, tonight we're going to cover some sexy topics, some life topics, and sometimes confusing topics. Sexy being crypto, life being career, and sometimes confusing being compliance. And working in financial services regulation and compliance and AML compliance and beyond, I know that there are a lot of times that people get frustrated. And I'm hoping to add some kind of clarity and at least help somebody. But before I begin, I also want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. It's been more than a month and I've seen new subscribers still coming in. That was like really heartening. I mean, thank you so much. It meant a lot to me because January was a little rough. Now, whether you're tuning in to the lives, you're cherry picking the prayer content, you're just laughing at my shorts, and I had a lot of fun with the shorts. Thank you for your support. The live is about to get going, and if you want to share this even beyond social media, send it in an email. That works too. I'll be happy for you to do so. So this is the first live of 2023, and I do apologize that it did take longer than intended, but I am back and thank you for joining me. Now, before I jump into the content, let me get my disclaimer out of the way. I am a financial services regulator. I am not a professional advisor. I am not a lawyer. And the views on this channel are definitely all my own and do not represent the views of any regulatory authority or international standard setting body. Now, with that out of the way, let's dive in. So, compliance and current issues. A lot is going on, and everything around financial services compliance seems to be coming to a boil. Now, the international standard setter for AML CFT, the Financial Action Task Force or FATF, as well as a supranational body, the Bank of International Settlements. Some people refer to it as the central banker's central bank. And other similar organizations have been extremely busy, not just in AML CFT compliance, but as it relates to cryptocurrencies, stable coins, CBDCs, tokenization of everything. A lot is happening. And then what you're also seeing is that regulatory authorities around the world are also more visible in their policymaking and enforcement action. And a lot of people are actually welcoming this in a number of countries because it adds to the fabled regulatory clarity. One standout example, and this is just like an intro of the current issues, but one standout example that I can point to that occurred last month, I believe it was the FCA, the Financial Conduct Authority in the UK, issued guidance for the application process for getting a license as a certain crypto service provider. And it was clear, it was straightforward. It's been done in other countries that will remain nameless at this point in time. But if you think you know, drop it in the comments below. But banks and cryptocurrency exchanges, they've been having a lot to deal with. Banks, Basel 3.0, I call it 3.4 at this point in time. It's been going on for a minute. But in addition to addressing their minds to compliance issues, some have not gotten it right. And some of them have had some massive fines handed to them for AML failures. And what I find interesting about those enforcement actions is that it's the usual suspects of AML failures. But a bit on that later. I'm trying to set the stage. Still on the current issues, there's Chat GPT. How many of you have heard of Chat GPT? You could jump in the comments. Yes, I see you present and everything. Hi. Jump in the comments. How many of you heard of Chat GPT? How many of you played with Chat GPT? So I've tested some of the outputs as it relates to AML CFT and other compliance issues. And what I've been told, because some of this is not my own due diligence, but a colleague who was kind enough to, help me out with that, is that it's really good at scoring publicly available information to provide you lists. So if you're preparing like a listicle or something, like the top 10 AML fines, it's really good at that. But the data that it goes after is up to, I think, 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at the time of me recording this, that is where the information was up to. But what ChatGPT is not good at is nuanced compliance issues. So why bring up ChatGPT and what does it mean? If you are on YouTube as often as I am, you'd note that there are some people that put out videos on how you can make money with it. You'll have it being integrated more, and it reduces the fear with artificial intelligence, AI. It will impact jobs, but it will open more opportunities and more jobs because there's certain things that human beings will still need to do. But as it stands for compliance, it means that right now, a career in compliance is one that will continue to require human intervention. So a lot of things can be automated or made more efficient with technology. And in compliance, that might be with filings and pulling data for filings to regulators or to board of directors or internal reports and preparing dashboards so that you get a sense of the compliance health. But as it stands, careers in compliance continue to be one of the fastest growing areas, and one of those areas that I think for now will be immune from AI. You will have some of the lower hanging fruit maybe going, but you'll still have one of the fastest growth as a career opportunity. Now, from that vantage point, my next live, I'm already planning for the next, I've been planning for lives for quite a while, but my next live will be focused on those of you thinking about taking a leap into a career in compliance. Or if you're already in the space and you're, say, a compliance analyst, you might be wondering, well, what do you need to do to level up? Beyond this platform, beyond YouTube, there are even more resources through my membership, Chasing Compliance, and there are details in the description below, but we're going to get to different things um, over time. So, guys, I know that, most of you are quiet. If you want to put in yes or no, whether you're in compliance or in financial services, just put yes, no in the chat. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that it's human beings watching. I really do want the engagement and interaction, if at all possible. So just let me know if yes or no. So Gabriel is saying nope. Anybody else in compliance? So I'll give you some time to comment on that, and let's jump into, say, the careers. Now, careers in compliance. I've put out videos in the past on who is a compliance officer, the characteristics of an effective compliance officer, and more. And I've put links to those two videos in the description. But the trend that I've observed is that others who are in the compliance space, say like Thomson Reuters, I think it's Thomson Reuters, they issue publications, they have an online space, they have a annual publication, the cost of compliance, that I often get. I've gotten it every year for the last maybe 5 years. And they've reported on it increasing the careers in compliance. One of the statistics that I remember from, I think it was a 2020 Chasing Compliance report. So this was published early 2021, I believe it was. But the 2020 cost of compliance report stated that by 2025, firms globally will spend $425 billion on compliance. And beyond 2025, that will only set to increase. Now, I don't know if that really got to the pulse of the needs for crypto, and you'll see why I think that figure might already have been met, and the cost of compliance is actually rocketing up. And that cost includes people's salaries. It's not just the systems, but it includes hiring more people and the salaries, compliance consultants, training. I mean, there are a lot of elements to go in terms of building your compliance. But there's another area that's also garnering a lot of attention around the compliance space. And it doesn't matter whether you're in financial services or not, but in compliance, it's really big, and that is governance. Think tone from the top. It is so critical to compliance. And so, yes, we're on corporate governance, Sherry. And I know that is one dear to your heart. Tone from the top, critical to compliance. And we have several examples in the media right now with the current issues that are going on. Now, just looking at crypto and financial services, two cases that jump out that were like international news: FTX with Sam Bankman-Fried, Bahamas / the United States fame. And then there's SSL, which was an investment company is an investment company based in Jamaica. The second case may be lesser known, but at the root of it is a fraud that fleeced millions from clients. And it garnered a lot of international attention because one of the clients happens to be the Jamaican Olympic sprinter Usain Bolt. Now, FTX also got a lot of attention because it caused other crypto players to implode. It was this huge behemoth, but it was all built on a lie. And I am interested in seeing how this case progressed. And there was a lot of misinformation. But the misinformation, I think, was in part because a lot of people didn't understand how compliance and regulatory structures work. A lot of people don't appreciate that in the Caribbean, especially, we have to be better and more stringent at having regulatory frameworks than in some of our G7 counterparts, because there's so much more riding on us if there's a failure. Now, with that said, with the SSL case, I saw something happen that I have not seen happen in my career, a regulator being taken over by another regulator. So the Jamaican FSC was taken over, basically, is being now managed, you could say effectively managed by the Central Bank of Jamaica. Now, I have colleagues that I've met and their friends that I've met from the Central Bank of Jamaica, and appointed recently is a friend of mine. So, I'm looking at the space, what happens. But I've touched on governance as a key issues in past videos. But I mentioned this in terms of the careers as well, because if you're qualified by, say, the Chartered Governance Institute, and I've dropped their link in the description below, and perhaps you have a wider knowledge of a particular area, it doesn't have to be financial services, say telecommunications, say agriculture, it adds value to the management or the directorship within that industry. And in my time in this industry in financial services, I have not seen a more exciting time to be in compliance and corporate governance. And yes, I have qualifications in both. It's that important. So, there are a lot of opportunities for people, even directorships. And perhaps I'll go into, and this might be touchy, I might do it within my membership and not necessarily on the YouTube channel, but economic substance and people now seeking to be directors, to assist companies in meeting economic substance. That is its own topic that is unique to some of our islands. We won't touch on it tonight, but let me know in the comments if you're interested. Even after this live, you're watching this afterwards and you're interested, drop it in the comments below, or hit me up on LinkedIn at Ignis Solutions Limited and let me know. Now, as it relates to careers, I am really going to expand on some of the strategies to help compliance professionals. And why do I think I'm qualified? I've encountered a lot of compliance professionals around the world, both regulators and compliance officers and compliance analysts and people who are just, ancillary to the whole industry. So satellite industries, auditors and accountants and the like. And having had the opportunity to speak to so many people and being in contact with so many people, I think I could bring a unique perspective to perhaps some of the career options. And guess what? I've made some of those mistakes myself. I had a video, I'm not putting it in the description below, where I talked about mistakes that I've made in my career and things that you should look at making sure that you correct in your career to make sure that you get to where you want to go. Now, I've chopped up 15 minutes just on career and intro. Let's go to crypto because that's a sexy topic. That's why most people are here. I have touched on crypto in the past, and the activity globally has been intense. The activity in the US has been crazy. And beyond fines and the ongoing discussion and searching for regulatory clarity, and from some of the crypto players suing regulators and regulators suing crypto players, and they're just being, and then there's crypto Twitter, which is wild. If you're not on Twitter, proceed with caution if you're going in for the crypto space. There's a lot that is being said in terms of a lot of things, and there are a lot of scams out there as well. And so there are a few points you may or may not have seen that's, I think, worth a further review. Let's start with Coinbase, because Coinbase is one of the larger cryptocurrency exchanges. Now, it recently came to a settlement of $100 million from regulatory interventions. I think it was the New York District, Department of Financial Services, New York District. I'm just butchering the regulator's name. But the regulatory findings were poor anti-money laundering systems. Now, $100 million, big fine. But what I found interesting is that $50 million was the actual enforcement penalty. And the other $50 million is what now Coinbase has to spend to build up their compliance programs. Those compliance programs don't just mean, just electronic programs. It means people. So that's one of the things that stood out to me. And then another thing that stood out, the regulator's assessment, and this was a quote in relation to the verification of customer identity, was that Coinbase's approach was, quote, immature and inadequate. And I read that and I was like, ouch. No, Coinbase isn't a just come cryptocurrency exchange. And part of the issue that I find with not just Coinbase, but with many crypto projects, they get into the view of, yeah, they can code everything and they figure that, you know your customer or KYC and a little bit more is the whole kit and caboodle of AML CFT compliance. It is not. And they're learning that the hard way. However, it's not just exchanges that are having a hard time with this. Banks that have been subject to regulation for what seems like eons continue to still falter. And there are a lot of moving parts to stop calling it KYC and call it what it is, customer due diligence. That's a process. And fun fact, it's the first course that I developed because it is the most often missed, messed up, failed area in AML compliance. And customer due diligence is not just knowing who it is and verifying who it is. There's a lot of moving parts there. But the Coinbase story tells us a few things. The regulators are putting their attention on systems and controls and making sure that people are actually putting the resources where it's needed. Remember, having a risk-based system addresses your mind to putting resources where the risks are. And that 50 million, so half going to as an enforcement fund and half going to building resources, was to me a very, very clear message. Now, there are a lot of other things that could be said in relation to Coinbase, but I think they're doing pretty decent. Now, FTX, I mentioned them earlier. Where to begin? Many have used the fallout from around FTX to vilify the entire crypto industry. And I don't think that's the right approach, in my opinion. Fraud exists everywhere. And this was another fraud that was being perpetrated on a massive scale. Now, one of the interesting facets is that the Bahamian component and is AOC, Congresswoman AOC, kept pronouncing it Bahamian. Learn the countries' names and how to say where they're from, please, US people. The Bahamian component is often misconstrued or I think completely missed. And I'm not defending Bahamas because it's a Caribbean country. I'm familiar with a number of these jurisdictions, not intimately familiar with the system in the Bahamas and their Securities and Exchange Commission, but the fact that they're a signatory A to IOSCO, which is the international standard for securities regulators and securities commissioners, same as the US SEC, says that they're of a certain gravitas. But a lot of people want to say, well, they were regulating them on the beach with palm trees and a drink, rum punch in their hand. That doesn't happen. But also the multi-jurisdictional nature of this case, and indeed for much of crypto, because remember, crypto it's not just wherever the platform is, will provide a lot of lessons for us. Now, for FTX, I've commented on this case in the prior weeks on LinkedIn under my personal handle. Feel free to follow me there. Again, it's fraud and an issue of governance. They talk about AML failures, poor accounting, like they use QuickBooks for a multi-billion-dollar operation. They talked about, they didn't even know how many employees they had. And the right now, one of the big things is how much the law firm that is in the US that was affiliated with FTX while they were going strong, now involved in their liquidation and bankruptcy. I see conflict of interest going back to governance issues that they charged. I forget how much it was. It was a few, like $15 million for a few days of work, and it worked out to $400,000 per day of legal fees. And I am like, what the French toast? But we watch this space and we are going to see what happens. And there's also the issue that Sam Bankman-Fried contributed to the political campaign of a lot of US politicians. And there's a lot of commentary as to whether those politicians and other businesses will give back that money. So we stay tuned for that. So that goes into the ESG pile. So environment, social, and governance. See how these things are connected, all in compliance. That's a social aspect where they might be contributing to a university or to a fund or to, children's home or home for the elderly, something. But fraudsters will often have these gregarious moments where they're, and they contribute to these different causes to give this air of credibility to say, well, yeah, we're making all of this money, we're going to be altruistic. And I think it was some sort of altruism that SBF was going after. Signatures of fraud always show themselves. And yes, there was a board of directors, but the case is still being tried, and well, it's going to be tried soon, and we're going to see what comes up with that. No, I see people laughing. Any questions so far? You could ask questions. Um, Right. So another case that I was looking at in the crypto space, Nexo, crypto lending platform. And this has been in the news all around the world, from New York to Bulgaria to the Cayman Islands. And they've been subject to a bit of regulatory action in the last few weeks from a number of different regulatory authorities. Now, I will not dive into this case here, but I mentioned them as a bit of homework for all of you. I have covered this a bit more in my membership because there are things that are better left for a non-public forum, and this channel focuses on compliance. Nexo is a case I definitely encourage you to do your due diligence on, and it's NEXO. Really interesting case. I think the red flag. It's an interesting one. So I see Val has a question. I was wondering, why would the politicians be obligated to give back the contributions from FBF? Very good question. So in terms of the ethical standing of contributions, if they are given from someone, from say criminal proceeds, you are supposed to claw back. And when I say you, law enforcement are supposed to claw back criminal proceeds wherever they go. So even if it goes to a pension fund, even if it goes to medical care, this is why sometimes people will say, okay, you invested in this and you happen to have withdrawn money that you thought were profits, and you get a liquidator saying, well, no, you actually need to pay back this percentage. It's because the money that was paid to the politicians as a contribution or to a university as an endowment or donation were from criminal proceeds and not from the profits of the person who was donating. And it wasn't even, I don't think it was FTX proper in a number of cases who were giving the donations. There was also property purchased and purchased by his parents, SBF's parents, in the Bahamas and on other places. So they are looking at that. But one of the other areas that I think is going to be really interesting with this case is when they do trace the monies and what they were spent on, what is going to happen. Because I find it interesting that no property was purchased in his name, but property was purchased in his parents' name. His mother wrote a paper a few years back, and this is why like compliance is just like so sexy for me when you get into these cases. I mean, if you're into mysteries, Dick Francis, Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot, those are some of the old school ones. If you talk about Sherlock Holmes, still old school, but they've modernized it. When you start researching some of these issues and some of these connections, you are like, what the French toast? His mother wrote this thing basically saying that when kids do wrong things, they shouldn't be punished. Like what? No. Look it up. Twitter, like I said, Twitter is wild. So what else? No, Kraken. Ooh. Release the Kraken. Now, full disclosure, I have an account at Kraken. And one of the things that this one is hot. The US SEC recently fined them, and it seems to be that there's going to be a lot of fallout around this one. And why did they fine them? Well, the US SEC came to a position that Kraken's staking platform was illegal, and it should have been a securities offering, and they should have been registered with the SEC. Now, the SEC has a storied history, and if you've watched some of my prior videos, you would see that I am a ardent Ripple Lab supporter. My biggest holding of cryptocurrency is XRP, And there are a lot of people who are Bitcoin maxis who hate Ripple and hate XRP, and that's their business. That's their opinion. However, the SEC's actions, I sit back and I don't, it's not the professional courtesy for regulators to rag on each other. The US SEC is really testing a lot of regulators in this particular area. No, they find cracking about staking. But interestingly, just as I was preparing for this live, one of the US SEC commissioners, Hester Peirce, issued a statement on the actions in relation to Kraken, and she does not agree with the SEC. And so she issued a statement of her dissent. The link to her statement is definitely below. But let me read an extract of it. And this is what was said by Hester Peirce, an extract. But I'll be definitely watching this closely and fleshing this out a bit more in my membership. Quote, we have known about crypto staking programs for a long time. Although it may not have made a difference, I should have called for us to put out guidance on staking long before now. I failed to do that. Instead of taking the path of thinking through staking programs and issuing guidance, we again chose to speak through an enforcement action purporting to make clear to the marketplace that staking as a service providers must register and provide full, fair, and truthful disclosure and investor protection. End quote. No, that's a snapshot to get you reading. Let me tell you, Hester Peirce, yeah, yeah. I follow her on Twitter, and a bit more than that. You know, I have had the opportunity to actually speak with her, um, and in my personal capacity, let me say that. And I see her as almost like akin to, yeah, different but akin, like, you know, a non-conventional regulator, somebody who's going to speak their mind, and when they see something that's happening that is unfair, they will see it and go against the established the established coalition of other regulators who think that they can do this. But the SEC's actions in the past are actually, in my opinion, putting the entire United States of America behind while the rest of the world moves on. But that's just my opinion. What do I know? You know, I've just been doing this for a couple of decades. Now, Binance is another one. I opened an account at Binance. I never put a single cent or a single token or a single crypto, nothing on Binance. And I have not really ever made public comments about Binance, but my prior statement just now in terms of opening an account and then never putting anything on it should give you a clue as to what I feel about Binance. But if you want me to do some coverage on that, maybe in a later video, because I want to be very careful from a compliance perspective, drop it in the comments below. If you're enjoying the video, hit the thumbs up button, help with the algorithm, because, you know, it's a thing. I need a rating. Yeah, Val, you react. Get on Twitter. Twitter's wild. Since Elon Musk took it up, it's even more wild because Elon Musk has some of the shadow banning that was going on. That is done with. It actually shows some of the users of Twitter who were shadow banned. They're not censoring commentary in relation to the virus of unknown origin that impacted us for 2.5 years. So you're getting information from far and wide. They also show you now, and this is, you know, not to like big up Twitter, but they're also showing you how many people view your tweets, because you never were able to see that, because you see how many people like or interact, but you never saw how many people viewed your tweets. You see that now. And there's some more recommendations that are going in terms of editing your tweets, because you can't edit, you can only delete your tweets, but can't edit your tweets. So I think he's working on some of those things. And the blue check mark, yeah, Twitter is lit now. Go get your Twitter account back. So now, as it relates to investing in cryptocurrencies, I've had a lot of questions on that. There are a lot of channels on it, but there are a lot more scams. And I spent as much time trying to explain some of the scams, like, you know, especially like the ads on YouTube. Ads will come in with the same, say, Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple Labs talking about XRP, and it would be a video and they would say it's live, but it's a scammer that pulled a past video and they would be like, send your XRP here and receive double. Those things, scam, 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 scam. Do not, nobody is going to double none of your money. I got to say it colloquially. Okay. No one is doubling your money. Look out for the scams. If you are ever in question of a scam, just there's some people now on YouTube who actually go through the different scams and will report them. And on Twitter, now they're even more active reporting scams and blocking spammers and scammers. So if they like clone your profile, basically somebody will they will they try to clone an influencer's profile, and they would just put an underscore someplace different, or very same logo, same, it looks legitimately the same. But once it's discovered, somebody in crypto Twitter who follows the legitimate person will be like, here's another one, nuke 'em. And then it would just be everybody reported, and the person would be basically removed from Twitter for violating those rules. So that is in place. But crypto is a lot more, well, the space is a lot more than crypto. Beyond digital assets, beyond NFTs, non-fungible tokens, beyond DeFi, decentralized finance, beyond the metaverse. It's a broad and diverse space, and it's just getting bigger. And if you are interested in me trying to cover some of this, because I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not an expert in everything. Blockchain analytics, I have friends who work with blockchain analytics firms, and they are the ones who go after the people who steal your crypto, or the ransomware. And there are a lot of successes in law enforcement as well. But if you want that kind of content to understand like a broader perspective as a space, let me know in the comments. So we've covered compliance, we've covered crypto, and we've covered career. And today is a shorter live, but there's a lot more that I'm going to dive into. I wanted to do a live today because it's been a minute. Lots going on still, but guess what? I still love doing this, and I still love the engagement. But one of the things that I've seen in my career as a compliance professional, the world over, because I've been very fortunate to have traveled quite a bit and met a lot of people from a lot of different countries. I've seen compliance professionals attain qualifications in compliance. In many cases, they spend between three, six, even up to $10,000 to get these diplomas and degrees. And at the end of it, they still struggle to apply it. And the evidence is there. Applied compliance is a lot different from theoretical compliance. And what I strive to do is to provide useful resources that help you faster. And my tagline is faster than it takes you to review a compliance manual. If you've ever reviewed a compliance manual, you will know that that's a task. So if you want to get insights that can help you to have better results in your compliance career, there's a special in the description below on the 2 courses. So check that out, but you check out the links for the store, because there should be a free something in the opt-in. There are checklists, if you're curious, or if you want to join the membership and get some of the non-public content, there's always that. But if you're in traditional financial services, fintech, or other businesses that have AML CFT responsibilities, you make sure you get in, you ask your questions, and I will do my best to help you. You don't have to pay for this. You just come, ask the questions on LinkedIn, engage with me, and I'll be happy to help. So I'm definitely looking forward to continuing the discussion and sharing my passion for compliance. My next live will be in about 2 weeks. Next week is Valentine's. Nothing special planned here, folks. But the membership for the compliance professionals chasing compliance will be active and open. And check the description. Beyond that, feel free to connect with me how you can. And thank you for tuning in. I really hope you found value today. Let me look. I don't see any other questions. Yeah, I really thank you for tuning in today. I have a lot more to share on crypto. I was thinking about doing a little online something. But I'm here for you, to help you. Thank you, Val. Thank you so much. It's an interesting space. There's more content coming. I'm going to work on getting back to my shorts. And I see the flow is going to be much more steady in by March, but my next live will be in 2 weeks, and we will be focusing on compliance analysts and career tips. But there'll be more content, even if you're not in compliance. There's still something to take away, because guess what? Everybody uses financial services, right? You have a bank account, insurance policy. Some of the questions come up and they're relevant to you, even if you're not in financial services. So thank you again, and have a good one wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to seeing you on my next one. See you guys.